Are you wondering how to get more food stamps in 2022? Of course you are, and you're not alone, because let's face it, food stamps is never enough to get by. I'm Nicole from Low Income Relief, where we help millions of people save money and get free stuff. EBT payments tend to go down a bit at the start of the year. Why? Because all of those beautiful cost of living increases for other programs like Social Security mean that you now have a higher income, and a higher income means a lower EBT payment. And it sucks because it means you're not really getting ahead with those COLAs. So let's explore some ways that you could potentially get more food stamps in 2022. First, carefully define your household. This is the first big mistake that most people make. You have to be very, very careful about who you include in your household because their income will count against your food stamps. The USDA, the agency that oversees food stamps, says a household is everyone who lives together and purchases food together and prepares meals together. You have to do both parts in order to be counted as a household. Just because you live in the same house does not mean that you are part of the same SNAP household. For example, if you are a senior who has an adult child living at home, that adult child's income should only count toward your SNAP benefits if you were purchasing food and preparing meals together. If you live with a roommate but prepare your meals completely separately, that roommate's income should not count toward your household because you're not purchasing and preparing meals together. Now, there are some exceptions to this. Some people who live with you, such as your spouse or your child who's under the age of 22, will count toward your SNAP household even if they purchase and prepare meals separately. That's just how the law is written, and there's really no way to get around that. However, many people are losing out on food stamps money because they're counting people in their household who do not belong there. So be careful and carefully evaluate who is and is not part of your SNAP household. Second, make sure that you take advantage of any special rules that apply to you. There are a lot of confusing loopholes and caveats in the food stamps law. One of these is especially for seniors and people with disabilities. According to the Center for Budget and Policy Priorities, only 12% of eligible households are claiming the special benefits they're entitled to under this provision. If you are disabled or at least 60 years old and you're only getting a tiny amount of food stamps, then you need to pay close attention to this because you are probably missing out on the medical expense deduction. This exclusive deduction covers any out-of-pocket medical expenses greater than $35 per month for any household member that is elderly or has a disability. According to the CBPP, a single senior who claims $50 to $200 in medical expenses can get an extra $7 to $69 in SNAP benefits per month. So does it fully cover the medical expenses you have? No, but it certainly helps and puts more food money in your pocket. And the deduction includes a lot of different medical expenses, including prescription costs, over-the-counter medication costs, medical, vision, and dental care costs, medical supplies like canes, dentures, hearing aids, and prosthetics, health insurance premiums, deductibles, and copays, including Medicare costs, transportation to and from doctor's appointments, costs associated with having a service dog, attendant, healthcare, or homemaker services. Some states even include home modification costs if you have a disability. If you spend over $35 a month on any of these things and you're not counting this deduction, you may be leaving money on the table and getting less food stamps than you deserve. Third, double check your other deductions. Deductions are powerful. In order to fully understand their importance, you'll need to check out our other video about how food stamps are calculated. But basically, deductions offset the amount of income that the food stamps office will count against you. Some deductions are automatic. For example, there's an automatic 20% deduction from any earned income you may have, a standard deduction based on household size and location, and in some areas there is also a standard shelter deduction. Other deductions are not as simple and straightforward, and those are the ones you want to watch out for. If you don't get credit for these deductions or they don't calculate them correctly, it can cause you to receive a lot less food stamps than you should be getting. First, watch out for the dependent care deduction. This deduction offsets the cost of child care or adult care for a disabled, ill, or elderly household member. The dependent care expenses are deductible as long as the care is needed so that you can work, look for work, or participate in an approved education or training program. The Center on Budget Policies and Priorities has stated that the dependent does not even need to be related to you in order for you to claim this. Since 2008, you are able to deduct the full amount of out-of-pocket dependent care costs that you pay. If your dependent care costs go up, make sure that the office knows that so that they can increase your food stamps. Second, the child support deduction. Now, if you receive child support, it counts as income for your household. However, if you pay child support, you receive a deduction from your income because that money isn't going to you, it's going to the child. If you pay child support, you can get a deduction for any court-ordered, legally obligated child support payments that you make. And finally, the excess shelter deduction. This is a deduction for housing costs, which include rent, mortgage payments, property taxes, electricity, water, fuel to heat and cook with, and the basic costs for one telephone. If those expenses take up more than half of the income that remains after the other deductions, and it usually does, then you need to know about this. This one deduction alone could shave $597 from your countable income, or more if you're elderly or disabled. Given the astronomical costs of rent and utilities, this is a deduction that many people qualify for but may not be receiving accurately. Part of the excess shelter deduction is based on your utility usage, and that's the part you especially want to watch out for. Some states use a standard utility allowance to make the calculation easier, and that's based on the average utility cost in your area. Some states will require you to use this standard allowance, and others make it optional. If it is optional in your area and you have exceptionally high utility costs, then you may be able to get more food stamps by using your actual utility costs instead of the standard allowance. You'll have to work with your caseworker to determine if this is possible for you and how to do it. That's it for today. Be sure to subscribe to our channel for more ways to save money and get free stuff.